Today on Tri-Crow Studios, we do a high gain amp shootout between the Peavey 6505 Plus and the Marshall JCM 2550-2555X. The X stands for reissue, the Silver Jubilee. Now I'd like to reiterate here, this is a high gain amp shootout. That's why it's titled that way. So you're not going to hear any cleans, you're not going to hear any breakup. This is just high gain geared towards metal. I'd also like to note that I'm boosting both of the amps with an Ibanez TS9. You wouldn't generally do that with a 6505 Plus, but it really added some energy when I was recording. But I do have two sound samples for you today, the first of which is a somewhat balanced EQ setting in drop B, whereas the second of which is a little more on the scoop side, and that is in drop C. Alright, so there you go. There are the two sound samples for the high gain amp shootout between the Peavey 6505 Plus and the Marshall JCM 2550, 2555X. Again, the X stands for reissue, the Silver Jubilee. I do generally get asked what version of the 6505 Plus I'm running here. It's the Made in USA version. They moved things over to China from there. I think the components and everything are the same. It's just made in China now. And it is at this point in the video where I do like to go over what I've gained from doing a shootout like this. And it's one of those things where I haven't really been using my Silver Jubilee a lot. I really like it personally for like pair it with a Strat or just a Les Paul with a little bit of gain and playing some leads. It's just fantastic. However, when it comes to high gain, for some reason, a lot of people shy away from it. And I've kind of done the same. I think it more than likely is because I have so many amps that I just haven't gotten around to, you know, throwing it into shootouts or doing this and that with it as far as high gain. However, I would like to say that it does really well. It has to be boosted. It really does have to be boosted to get into high gain territory, similar to the JCM 800, which is not a high gain amp, and the JCM 900 as well. It just does better with a boost out in front to boost the guitar signal. But it does rather well. I find when I'm single tracking with it, like when I'm doing the first track, I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna, how this is gonna turn out. However, once it's double tracked and you do the side-by-side comparison, it sounds really nice. There's a level of clarity with it when it's more balanced that it handles its stuff. It is clear, to me at least, that the low mid and the low end on the 6505 Plus, it's a little more concentrated than the JCM 2550. The JCM 2550 has a lot more high end and sizzle to it. And when there's mids in the mix and it's not, backed off past noon or before pre-noon, I guess you would say, in a scoop setting, it performs really well, and it does have a lot of balance there in the mids. However, in a scoop scenario, it just, if someone wants to say, wow, that sounds solid state, I can understand and agree. It just doesn't seem like it excels in a scoop type setting. Gets a good dime bag sound though. But both of these amps are fantastic choices. And again, when mids are in the equation, you're not running anything scooped, it's a fantastic lead amp, the Silver Jubilee. I find that the 6505 Plus, it does hold its own. However, in comparison to the Silver Jubilee, there's just something magical with the Silver Jubilee when there's mids in the mix on leads. It's just a great amp that way. And as always, we're talking about a Peavey amp here. So I do want to note, if you are looking to purchase a Peavey amp on the used market, do yourself a favor and grab a can of contact cleaner and set aside about a half hour of your time with some screwdrivers. What ends up happening with Peavey amps, for some reason, it happens a lot faster than any other amp. But the potentiometers and the contacts within the potentiometers do tend to get dirtier faster than other amps. So that's when you generally get the the crackly pots or whatever. However, when it happens to the volume or the gain control, it can actually make the amp seem like it's losing power, or it can cut out completely. In the case of the JSX that I own, it would sound great, and then 30 seconds later it would kind of and then come back on. It would just kind of go in and out in waves. I don't know what it was, but it was in a really good gain spot, unfortunately, and I kept running into that issue. I've had that issue on 4 out of 5 Peavey amps. 6505 Plus has not encountered that issue as of yet, but it is a rather easy fix to do. Set aside a half hour, maybe shut the amp off for a day or so just to be safe. Then you pull the chassis out, and then you spray that contact cleaner inside all of the potentiometers, and then you wiggle them in. And what that does is it cleans the contacts and everything. And from there, once you got everything back in, that amp should be good for like another 1.5 to 2 years, maybe even longer. It's not that big of a deal, but it is something that if you are looking to purchase a Peavey amp on the used market, you really should know. But that is all I really have to say about the comparison between the two. Again, both of these amps are phenomenal choices. The 6505 Plus, I do have to kind of give the nod to it. There's just a little more gain in the mix there, and it does a balanced EQ. It does a skewed to the high-end EQ well, and as well, when you're talking about scooped, it does well there as well. However, the Silver Jubilee here, it does really, really well when it comes to like a more balanced EQ when you got the mids in there. But once you start bringing that mids, backing that off, you know, pre-noon, then it just kind of, it does sound solid state-ish. Anyway, thanks for watching.